Good evening, everybody. Today is the day after Diwali, and I think everybody is really tired, but we decided not to take a break and still come and wish you all a very, very happy Diwali, a lovely time ahead. It was also Children's Day yesterday, so I'm sure it has been a double, a celebration for everybody. So while I like to say that sometimes you must just go on, uh, keep reaching out, and definitely keep connected to what you're doing. So we decided to do that today. And I sit here with my new cup of tea to meet you as I always do. And today I decided to take this topic of handwriting because every time the Diwali break got over, the teachers would start getting worried about the next class and handwriting. That now how are the children going to get ready for writing? How are they going to get ready for writing? And November was always that time when the activities were taken a little, took a little backseat, and a lot of writing, was sort of, the children went into a lot of writing. So very, very interestingly, if the children were well prepared, they would write beautifully. And when even they would come back after the Diwali break, they would be absolutely fine. So I thought that this is the right time to actually talk about handwriting. So as we always do, today we have Pan with all his friends. And Pan loves to tear and paste in different ways. He loves to paint on other days. But when Pan's mom says, write A to Z 5 times, with that, he's just not fine. He loves to knead. So he loves to knead dough. He loves to knead dough, and he can make many, many things. He then doesn't waste it. He feeds it to the bird when it comes and sings. And the bird wonders. Someday it gets a cat, someday it gets a little rat, and the bird is really happy. He loves to take crayons of many colors and scribble with them. He also used this newspaper and but never scribbles on the wall. Never scribbles on the wall at all. Pan has a sister who's a little bigger than him. It's a little big. He sits with her and watches the scissors as they go snip and snap. And Pan wants to cut like that. So Pan is going to learn how to cut also. And suddenly while scribbling, he realizes that, oh my God, I can draw. And he remembers all the things that he saw. He loves to write new words, new letters, and try and read them. He begins with just a few. So Pan is just really happy doing new things and loves to do something new. Now all his friends are there with him and they like to do different things. So Mr. Rabbit likes to paint. Mr. Rabbit likes to paint. The koala bear likes to cut, likes to take the scissor and cut. The duck likes to print. So the little duck likes to take stencils and print. And the little bear loves to trace, just loves to trace. The monkey loves to fix puzzles. The monkey loves to fix puzzles. He just takes simple puzzles and then he likes to figure them out and likes to fix up puzzles. Oh, this goes like this and like this. Very, very simple ways to do puzzles and the small motor skills of the children. All right. And the elephant simply likes to crush paper. This elephant simply likes to crush paper and make a ball. The cow loves to take thick crayons and scribbles all around. And the mouse takes little clips, scampers on the ground and fixes them here and there. They will all write one day. They will all write one day. They're getting ready to go out there. So very, very simple processes, very, very simple things that can actually get the children interested in handwriting. Um, they will all learn. We just have to give them the right environment. I think that's what is so beautiful. And I can see, a few people joining us. Thank you all, Poonam and Rosie. Thank you for being here with us. Um, and thank you for letting us go on. I think that's most important, right? So, as I've traveled, as I have met teachers, as I have been training and writing my books, there were a few questions that everybody asked me. Wherever I went, I got these questions. And the first question was, how do we make little children write? You mustn't make them write. That's the step one. If you make them write, then they are not ready for it. If they're ready for it, they will write. So I think that's very, very important. The other thing that in today's times, what people are also telling me is that, what is the need to write? There's also another very important thing that's going to that's happening in today's times is that children are not seeing adults writing too much. Everybody's typing. So is it still relevant? That's another question everybody asks me, that is handwriting still relevant? Well, it's very interesting. In the last couple of months, uh, there were so many skills which we didn't feel were relevant. People wouldn't learn how to cook because you ordered in, everything was available, everything. But this whole process in the last few months has been an eye opener on skills, and handwriting is just another skill. It's a very, very important skill, which, and I have seen a lot of, while I'm watching a lot of people working from home, so many people working on digital platforms, yet I see the pencils being lifted and little notes being made. So I think handwriting is here. It's not going to just go away suddenly because all of us are typing. Yes, it definitely has gone down, but for little children, it still remains a skill. It still remains a process which they must learn. And in India, distinctively, handwriting was given a lot of importance. It always has been the like the benchmark of. So good handwriting is good to have, but when and how much is the question that we have to have. So it's very interesting. I was sitting with and researching for today, and I opened an NCRT book, 1992, and such, what they have said is so precisely given that start with writing straight away. What is the age to make them start writing? So sometimes if children are very well prepared, if they've had a lot of practice, lot of hand movements, they will pick up pencils and they will doodle, they will scribble, they will draw, they will, and then gradually, suddenly you realize they're actually concretely writing. So handwriting is like a process. It will take its little. Development grows, they cannot learn unless they have an environment for it. So beautifully said. Occurs the growth or the development occurs from the head and then moves towards the feet. So it's always good to move the child. The minute the child comes to school, within 2 to 3 weeks, parents are saying, my child doesn't write, my child doesn't write. So it's very good for teachers to understand, why does this child resist writing? So handwriting, like I said, beautiful, but there has to be a process for it. It's very, very important. And a lot of schools keep telling me, ma'am, how will we finish the syllabus? Or how will we finish the books? So don't have that many notebooks for children, right? If you don't have that many books, you won't have to irrelevantly just keep filling them with transcription. It's not really required. And how beautifully it is said that, growth will start from the central region and go outwards. So these are little facts which these research organizations of the country, and the research banks are big. When we talk about these organizations, they are research banks which are very, very big. So they are talking about children in villages. They're talking about children whose language needs to be developed. They're talking about children in very, very, very big schools, or maybe very, very modern schools. So they have a big range of people, children they research from. So I also feel it's so very important to understand that these are organized. So when the NEP came now, we understand where it is coming from. Imagine it's years and years of work and research. So very important to understand that why we are saying handwriting, I feel it's important. But the process to it is even more important. I think that's the way I would look at it. I'm going to go through a list of most common questions for you. And for everybody who's saying a good evening to me today, I'm not going to have time to write or type back a good evening because I'm speaking alone today. So, but good evening to all of you who are joining us little by little, one by one coming in, and giving us that little scope of encouragement of seeing you all here with us again on even a day after such a big festival. So thank you so much. So the next most important question is, freehand writing or tracing. Somebody was saying how important is a pattern. Patterns are important, ma'am, because unless the child gets a pattern, like for example, if you see behind me, it's a simple tracing wall. It's a tracing wall which goes to the level of the children. It's made with just sandpaper, a starting dot, and you can actually have a pattern tracing wall. Start with that. They also say in the Montessori, dip the child's fingers, the writing fingers, in lukewarm water so that the child's fingers get sensitive. And then you let the child, after wiping it, then you tell the child to do the tracing activities. So sometimes when these systems, it's a Montessori and all, they have such intricate ways of making the children go towards handwriting. The next question they ask me is, so tracing hollow letters or dotted lines? So should we trace hollow letters or dotted lines? Should we teach uppercase or lowercase? In which order should we teach the letters? Should there be a 4-rule book, or like very recently, I've been seeing last couple of years 3-rule. Which is better? Should we teach them print or cursive writing? And how many shall we teach them a script which is a combination of a print and a little bit of cursive, or shall we just do a washing line and a slant line? So imagine you have so many kinds of scripts today. This is the traditional print, and this is what the child sees mostly. That's what the books are like. That's how the child. And this is a more recent format in the last couple of years. This is, of course, the traditional cursive, and then you have one more, which is like the slant and the loops. So this is another form of writing. But you have to look at all these three and say, which do you think is the clearest for the child? A child who is about 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and just as the child starts getting really good at recognizing the print, you take the print away and you give them another form of writing. And that's the time when the reading explosion is going to happen. So would it be better if the child continues to have one script of writing till the child can read fluently? I am not giving you an opinion. I'm just putting questions to you to ask yourself, because you see so many kinds of things around you. So I thought today we'll just have a discussion. Because as I saw it, I found the print the easiest for children, even with learning difficulties, because the movements were very simple. They were just a curve and a line and a curve and a line. It was a very simple movement. The child didn't have to think about concentrating on the movements once the child has learned. Why does this happen is because there is a muscle memory. When you, like for example, when you drive a car, initially you're going to be so careful, you're going to change the gear, then suddenly you realize there is a muscle memory. So practice is important. And how many times you change patterns is also very, very important in the early years. So a lot of schools, what they did in the last about 10 years, I've been seeing that they have started keeping the print till the children go to class 2. They change formats by the end of class 1 or even at class 2. By the time the children know how to read very fluently. So they don't change any pattern in between, and they have been successful. I've spoken to a lot of them, and they said, no, the children are comfortable, and this change from joining to print has worked for us. The Montessori says, no, we do cursive right from the beginning, but the preparation in Montessori is tremendous. It's at another level. So we have to work this out in our minds, that what is more important. Another question they ask us is, which I've kept books here with me, do we teach cursive print, small case letters or uppercase letters? I'm showing you two book headings. One has got the upper and the lower case, and the other one has just the uppercase. So how can we say that only one upper or lower should be taught first? The alphabet frieze will always have the upper and lower case. The alphabet posters will have the upper and lower case. So recognition must come together. Another very interesting fact is that 13 letters, or for 12, 13 letters have exactly the same formation. They're exactly the same formation. So it is just 13 more that have a variation in formation. Children learn so many things. If I give you a word list from home, it is more than 2000 words. That means they are not only recognizing the name of the object, they also are recognizing the object. The television, the remote, the lid, the katori, the spoon, socks, shoes. I mean, the pin, a pencil, a bindi, a lipstick, a glasses, earrings. I mean, they're like hundreds of things that the child is learning. So what is this big issue on these 26 letters? Think about it. Like I'm telling you, I'm only leaving thoughts for you. I am not going to give you my opinion on it. I'm going to give you my observations on it, right? Because I see a lot of discussion on this, and I feel it's such a relatively simple thing to do. In which order do we teach recognition? Well, there is an alphabet, it goes from A to Z, and this is the way the language has been developed. So recognition can come perfectly in order. It doesn't matter. Movements should be practiced so thoroughly. So thoroughly, you should be having your slant, your movement. Now, if we don't do that, how does the child learn? Now, another part that people question is, so when do we start writing? Is it freehand writing? Is it tracing? Is it uppercase, lowercase? Which order? Now, another thing very interesting is 4-ruled or 3-ruled. Now, this is a 4-ruled line, okay? So there are 4 rules. There is a gap, and then there is a next segment. Then there's another, and that's how it goes. A 3-rule looks something like this, where there is a continuation. Now, people who use this say that the children are comfortable, but this is what I commonly see through the country. Until now, I haven't seen it harm the children. I mean, it has never been. So another very interesting thing that I actually have is when we are writing, and this is what my experience has been. When we started the 4-rule for the English language, gradually the 5-rule came in for the Hindi. There was a small line in between. And what is interesting is these actually make what you call the writing control cards. When the teachers are making flashcards, you actually can put the cards so beautifully, and you can make proportions. So you know the G goes up, you know this up it's a tail letter, you know it's a tall letter, and you know it's a small case letter, and you know all the uppercase touches the top 3 lines. This has been the way we've been working. Also, during this pandemic time, what has happened is a lot of books, a lot of print material, a lot of resources are lying everywhere. So please don't worry if you have 4-ruled books. There's nothing wrong with 4-ruled, right? If later when you have the system, when you have the abilities, and you can change to another format. But presently, please do not worry about the 4-ruled books. Do not discard your stationery. It's perfectly all right. I will also show you a little poster behind me. This is a reading wall. Okay. Can you all hear me? Pankaj, is it audible? Yes, all right, great. Thank you, Sonia ji. So what you see behind is a reading wall, all right? So if you notice, each of these letters are all proportionately written over here. For example, I'll show it to you close by. So if you place the cards next to each other, the proportion is perfect. And what we use here is the reading control, the writing control card, so that the teacher, when she is making, writing reading material for the child, the proportions should be right. Now there is no drawing of lines in this. All the teacher is taking care of is the proportion. I think if this messaging goes to children, it works so beautifully. I'll tell you an interesting thing. Unfortunately, as time passes, you don't have all the proofs. But I remember I was working for an organization a couple of years back called Amrita Vidyalayam at Saket, Delhi. So I used to go there a couple of times in a month, and it was very interesting that we used to do this absolute proportion writing, or the entire LKG, lower kindergarten. And we would just say we were doing the writing of the uppercase at that time. The children were doing the uppercase in patterns. And then while we were doing the uppercase as not only as a pattern but also as sounds, etc., we kept writing the lowercase in a proportionate manner. Between the lines, we had these alphabet freeze. And one fine day, somewhere in the middle, when the children became fluent, their hands were good, we developed a lot of activities. One day, the head of the early years department walked in. She's an artist herself. So Malika walks in and says, Sonia, today we gave them sheets of paper. And I was not present that day. And I saw about 200 sheets of paper with beautiful writing, small case, without teachers teaching. I mean, that day was like an eye opener for all of us. That all we did was we gave them a lot of tracing. They were tracing walls, the uppercase, lowercase was all done like that, and tracing. And the children were just saw proportion all the time, and they were able to write beautifully. Imagine, without a single line on the sheet of paper. So that is how children are. If you can giving them the correct experiences, you keep giving them the correct, the eye, what they're seeing, it works very, very beautifully. So this is how we have seen handwriting grow. And this was a school which was that they had decided and taken a very strong decision among the many, many years back, that let us change to print writing. And it has worked beautifully. It has worked for reading. It has worked for the children's comfort. I was also talking to people who work, and also there is nothing wrong with any other script, please. There's nothing wrong with it. But this is an easier form of writing and can be extended for more than the pre-primary. It's a very, very comfortable font. Don't worry if your children are not able to write a cursive or they're not able to join. It doesn't matter. Sometimes people ask me, if they can't join, how will they write words? Why? They'll put all the letters close together. They will know that a word means a letter coming close together. Then you leave a gap. Then you write another word. So we will not worry about that at all. So I also feel that during this time, this whole, and worksheets became like an ailment. Everybody wanted worksheets. Whereas what the children needed was preparation. Preparation to do simple things, as simple as, punching, cards. Let me just do a couple of activities for you. And simply threading their shoelaces. That's it. Just threading that shoelace. They were developing the pincer grip. It was a perfectly easy thing to do. Or changing the way that the cards were snipped. So for example, if you, so if you could just snip them, and so what are we using here? We're using simple punching, a simple 10 by a small card, any old card, and we are teaching the children to thread it in different ways. How much effort does it take? What does it cost? Nothing. But if the child is able to do activities like this, the child is able to crush paper, the child is able to open and close lids of bottles, the child is able to take clips and just clip them onto maybe the side of a bowl, or the child is able to take, start with thicker crayons, start with thicker crayons, move the child to thinner crayons. All this is a process. So the child holds the thick one easily, then the child holds the thin one easily. Gradually, the child should be able to hold the pencils, even something as simple as mixing the lids of, sketch pens and telling them to put it back properly. This is all developing the pincer grip. Sometimes you'll see older children, class 1 and 2, whose handwriting just doesn't fall into place. It means you need to start this cycle all over again. And this little child will definitely learn faster at that age of 6 than the child would have learned at the age of 3. So don't worry about repetitive patterns in the later stages of the child's development if the child has not picked it up or had an experience on the earlier stages. So what we feel sometimes is, "Arey, bacche chote hai, they've grown up now." No, but that skill has not grown, right? So you can't just start from anywhere. It has to start right from the beginning. And that is how it works. Only thing is, you'll do it a little faster and you will do it a little less often than you did it when the child was 3 or 4 years old. So the understanding of the developmental continuum, what the child should do at 3, 4, 5, 6, and now 7, 8 is very essential. You don't see teachers reading the developmental continuum. Please invest time into reading, understanding how much should your child write and what is the aid you have to give the child. So fantastic activities like, and another very, very important activity, like I said, proportion, even Hindi letters, So even this, the writing control card holds good for Hindi letters also, that you have the letter in between, the matra that comes on top goes on top or it comes down. So the child uses these 4 rule or 5 rule for exactly that. So I think each time this whole system was developed, it was developed with a reasoning. It was not just randomly developed. So, like even when in Hindi the 5 rule came, everybody said, "What's the need of it?" But it has worked beautifully with children. They write with a lot of ease and a lot of comfort. So, when we say handwriting, it could be, of course, if you're teaching the local languages or Hindi, it works beautifully. Another thing very, very important for children to develop is visual discrimination. They must be able to discriminate between two different things. They should be able to discriminate between the same thing, identify same things. They should be able to spot the same colors. They should be able to, make a pattern with the colors. All this is necessary. And please remember, if the children have grown up, just make it more complicated. For example, if there's a 2-year second class child or a class 1 child who's not writing at all, there are two things that you can do. One is have a quick repetition of activities just patiently, and another one is to have a reading wall which is very, very proportionate. So invariably, that proportion keeps going in the eye of the child. The minute the child starts feeling confident, the child will start writing. Because that stage, the kind of number of activities we provide are not as many as we should be. And hopefully with this inclusion of, the class 1 and 2 in the earlier segment, hopefully we should not have class 1 and 2 very different from classes UKG as it today is. Unfortunately, I use something as simple as wrapping papers. Just give them wrapping papers, tell them to match it. As they grow, create little more difficult patterns. Just use old cards, your old greeting cards, visiting cards, and tell them to match patterns. This is all very important. While it is visual discrimination, but it is also preparing the child to write and move things. Suppose the child has to draw, the child has to have a memory. So visual discrimination comes first. Same things, different things. And this is not only for maths. This is also for handwriting. With older children, I think a simple activity of read a book and copy the words you can. Just pick up the words and write them. I'll write a word for you, draw them. So uh, create this wonder for writing out in whatever form, whether it is letters, whether it is small words, whether it is, a word picked up, read and picked up from somewhere. I think the whole thing just works, so much better. Another beautiful set of activities is, word discrimination. I think that works wonders for handwriting. You take little cards like we just did, and you write different words on it, and then tell the child to match same words. Put four cards of the same words, put one different card, and say remove the one that is different. So gradually the child is actually discriminating between the shapes of the letters. So first we start with just forms, pictures, and then we come to the shapes of the letters. That works beautifully with children, especially class 1 and 2, or towards the end of the upper kindergarten. It's a sorting, is a very, very important activity for you to do. Another thing that goes together is a lot of memory games. While we say rote learning is not important, but memorizing certain things is important. So if I can have a good memory, automatically I will be able to put it onto paper. I may first be able to draw better. Another process which is very, very interesting is actually a whole process of orienting the child, what you call simple orientation, moving the eyes from left to right. So it could be as simple as, puppets which go from one place to the other place. You just picked it up from one left to right. Even when your children are counting, it's very important to have the correct movements. Suppose the child is counting, let the child move in the correct direction. Whether the child is using counting blocks. So movement of things in a direction is very important as a skill for writing. Sometimes the child is just not able to figure it out. And we keep thinking, why is he not able to figure it out? And this whole thing of red line, blue line, the reason why I said lines, it is only for proportion. Do not harass the children to, touch the line. It's just a simple, you know, way to say, okay, it should fit into this much of space approximately. These are the letters that come down. These are the letters that stand tall. So please keep it as uncomplicated as that. Throughout the child's life, we don't have to keep saying red line, blue line, red line, blue line. It's not required. So whether it's a 4-rule line, whether it's a 3-rule line, whether it is a block, encourage proportion, encourage the left to right, the up to down. Very, very simple activities. We just do simple orientations, a simple movement of a car, or because I use trains all the time. So the movement goes from this direction. Okay. Now tomorrow, you can always ask the child to change direction. You can turn this over and change direction again. So each time the child is actually having to reorient a direction. And with letters, that's what happens. You have to reorient yourself to different formations. So simple movements like this are very, very important. When you do singing and rhythms, singing and rhythm, when you actually see singing and rhythm, you wonder why with handwriting, but it's beautiful. It helps you to connect children to lovely songs. Put your right hand in and move it all around, or squiggly wiggly fingers going up and down, or let's move our hand left to right or right to left, up and down and round and round, round and round. Move your head hand clockwise and then go anti-clockwise. So hand movements are so important. How important do you think is formation? Yeah, I see anything should be correctly taught to the children. You must give children the correct way to do it. For example, I think I was just, yeah. So I use these small little, this is just Suji in the house, because a lot of people are home and they may not be able to, get sandpaper, but allow the child to understand that the A goes like this and like this and like this. So why not teach them the correct formation? It's good to learn correct formation, you know. See, anyway, the child is not going to do the perfect A or the perfect B or the perfect C. But when you are doing the sampling, it should be as correct as it should be. I think that's the thing. And as the children are slowly tracing, the muscle memory develops and they're able to get a pattern. So this is one very, very important part of actually helping them to also first-hand experiences. Unless the children can relate to things, how do you think they're going to write? You know, I'll also show you something interesting. Many years back, I used to use something, and all the material that I'm suggesting is all inexpensive. And we as a country, as India, have such lovely, reasonable material of good quality, right? So I've been using, I just took out my boxes from the time I used to be a teacher. They're really old. So I used to use something called Crafty Junior, and it's a scissor that looks like it's a very simple, chota sa light scissor. And I have found the proportions so beautiful with children that I have worked with them for years and years. A lot of new products have come in, but if you talk about cost effective products, then these are simple things which are still available in the market. When you do paint brushes with children, start with the flat ones, they're easier to move. Gradually go to the tipped ones. So, the movement becomes a flat brush, a thick brush is much easier for a little child. So, do be careful with all of this. It's interesting. When you give a small child a paper like this, child finds it difficult to maneuver. So what did we do? We used to take the UKG children and used to tell them, please cut strips of paper. So these strips of paper would go to the junior children, and they would find it so easy to snip like this. So they used to start with ease of snipping. But if I told that little baby to cut it into strips like this, the child would not have been able to do it. All scissor activities, all activities which have got anything long have to be monitored. You cannot leave the children with these things, however safe these are. These are still under adult supervision. So give your children different levels of activities. For example, the strips can be done by the older children. Little children can cut the small pieces. So every school, it becomes like these older kids used to feel so responsible for the younger ones. So handwriting can become such a beautiful, journey for the child. Now it's also very interesting to see that we have really nice books. I mean, I think books today are quite beautifully done. They always were. Everybody put in an effort, but now I think there's also a lot of scientific thought. There's a lot of change in the way we look at books. Now, many times, children are made to copy exercises into the notebook. And then when it actually comes to filling in the blank or to match the following, by the time the child is exhausted, just doesn't want to work. Another thing that has come to me for the last many years about class 1 is, ma'am, the child does not copy from the board. Really? Why did the teacher write so much on the board? That's been my question for so many years. Whenever somebody looks at a UKG teacher and says, oh, तुम्हारे बच्चों को लिखना नहीं आता, I always used to ask them, आप इतना क्यों लिखते हैं बोर्ड के ऊपर? When you know that my little child can do exercises, so allow the crux of the exercise to be the written work and not this blind transcription. Repetition is good for muscle memory, but how much? You can't ask the child to write an A 50 times. Also, have different levels of transcription practice in your classroom. If a child does not enjoy writing or is unable to write, giving that child writing 50 times is not going to make the child even like handwriting. So please do not increase. In fact, a child who writes really well will write fatapat and just give it off to you. But a child who cannot write must not be given transcription, which just makes the child feel so helpless. Instead of that, give them a lot of other activities which will help them to do this transcription better. So I think this is one thing which all of us must remember, that children who don't like writing cannot be given more transcription to just say that, oh, they need more practice. No, they need more practice in the preparation, not in the handwriting. I think that's been a very important thing which I've been observing all through schools. Another very, very important part of handwriting is also, the tools you use. What kind of material are you giving the children? So just see to it that the material is in proportion to their fingers. Like sometimes the children can't write with very long pencils. So give them half pencils. It works fine with little children. Sometimes they may not be able to hold a round pencil very properly. So you have lovely pencils which are triangular, which have got a grip of three. That works really nicely for some. Some will be really comfortable and happy with a round pencil. So just watch out for these little things with children, even with children in classes 1 and 2. I would not suggest that we kind of don't look at that part carefully, because I think it's really, really important. So I had made a few notes which I thought that I must, look at and see where it goes. So another beautiful activity for children is storytelling and spatial expression. So spatial expression means how the child places things in the way the child listens. It's also a very, very interesting activity for you to do on regular basis till even the children are a little grown up. Complicate it as the child grows up. Keep it very simple when the child is little and make it a little more complex as the child grows. So we have to do finger movements. We have to do, the orientation. We have to do the visual discrimination. We have to do the visual memory, because the child has to remember what the child has to draw or write, right? And the child has to listen and comprehend. So comprehension, vocabulary, these are little things which I think we could kind of look at a little more carefully. And I'm going to do that. Yes, I just saw that coming. So I am going to give you a small, example of this proportionate. So if you have a pencil, just pick it up, pencil or a pen in your hand, just pick it up, and I will try and do this for you. So once upon a time, I'll just do a story. Maybe we'll just pick up the same animals that we did. We have one of them that fell off somewhere, but it's okay. So once upon a time, there was a little panda. He lived on a tree. So he lived on a tree. Under the tree lived the rabbit. So panda was on the tree, the rabbit was under the tree. So let's start with drawing a tree in the middle of the page. Let's all draw a tree on the middle of the page. Draw a panda on the tree. Draw the rabbit under the tree. Draw the monkey to the right of the panda. Now the right of the panda, my right will go, okay? And draw the little mouse on the left of the rabbit. So the right, the left, the top, the bottom. And a little far away from the tree, there was a little duck swimming inside the pool. So the little duck was swimming inside the pool, and there was an elephant standing in front of the pool. So do you realize when I said spatially how you are placing all these animals? A tree in the center, pan on top, rabbit at the bottom, the monkey on one side, who else was there? The mouse on the other side, the duck inside the pool, and the elephant in front of the pool. So the child is placing all these things on a blank sheet of paper. Initially, everything will all be all over the place. It's so interesting that gradually they understand where what has to go. And it works so beautifully with children. So many times when I used to see children who just don't like to write, they would love to draw. So there was this child who had a lot of spelling difficulties, and I remember once there was an EVS assessment sheet that was given to the child, And the child drew all the answers. There was no word written on it, not a single word. So the child could read the a tree, the like the main tree of the national symbol of India. So he drew a banyan tree. The what? So the little things that the child drew. What is the national bird of the country? Instead of writing a peacock, he drew a peacock. What is the national flower? So he drew a lotus. I think this is a class two child, or I am not able to remember the exact class, but it was a difficult paper. So these are not papers which I set, but these are things I see when I travel, right? And the teacher said, I was listening to this discussion, and the teacher said that, how can we mark this child? I said, how can you not? How can you not? Because today, if you don't mark this child, the child is never going to want to write the words. So sometimes it's okay if the children go towards handwriting on different paths. They may just take a different route to it, right? But they definitely will, so some children will write lots. Some children will write a little lesser than the others. Some children like me may not be able to spell. I still get real trouble with my spelling. But we all go through it comfortably. What is important is don't stress them out. Don't negotiate with them. If you don't write, you can't go out to play. No, you can't do that. He has to play, because then he'll come back and write 2 words better. You have not done 5 words correctly. You have done 1 word correctly is a better way to do it. Writing it's a necessity in school. See, we have to grow our children enjoying it. So I think is not interested in writing. That's what I said. Start with small steps, ma'am. Start with small steps. Start with what interests the child. Start with maybe just picking up 10 words a day. Use it with the child. I think, and put up nice walls for the child to read, so that the child gets, enabled. Do a reading activity with the child and say, come on, let's write just 2 words today. Don't start with aaj 10 word likho. Karo hi mat aap aise ye sab. So do simple things with children, and hopefully it should work. And yes, like somebody, like they said, so it's almost time, and time to wind up our handwriting day. Uh, it's a topic which is very, very dear to my heart, because I have seen so much of pain in children. I have seen so much of negotiation, so much of unnecessary burden, and worksheets and worksheets and worksheets. Worksheets are not activities. They're another written work in another form. That's all. So please allow your children to do lots of movements, lots of memory, lots of comprehension, drawing, give them the wonder where they feel like picking up a pencil and writing. And thank you so much. And thank you all for joining me today. I was thinking today, I was telling the team that I don't know whether anybody will come on board after Diwali, but I am grateful for all your support that I keep getting week after week. And enjoy this whole journey with your children. Don't stress them out. And if the teacher gives them writing 50 times, tell them that my child will write 10 times beautifully. Thank you so much. And a beautiful year, a very happy season coming forward. And I hope that 21 brings loads of happiness for all of us. Thank you.
Square, square, panda.